When Joe Rogan and Tom Segura sat down for their podcast, absolutely no one expected them to call out Ellen like this.
Ellen's rough.
Ellen is like an old.
But it's a rough one now.
It's a rough one now because she was running Abu Ghraib in the back of her show.
They weren't just making jokes about Ellen DeGeneres. They were highlighting a major gap between her public image and what people behind the scenes were saying. Ellen built her entire brand around one message, be kind. But according to multiple reports from staff and industry insiders, the workplace on her show didn't always reflect that. Employees described a tense environment, strict rules, and a culture where people felt uncomfortable speaking up. Some even claimed they were told not to make eye contact with her.
That's a rough one. She's out there dancing with Kristen Bell, and in the back, there's people that are getting up on the rack like this.
It's so weird when you see like a lot of people saying that someone who seems so nice is not nice at all.
She doesn't seem nice, but that's people have a very poor judge of character. She doesn't seem nice. It seems forced. People that are like that all the time, she doesn't seem nice. It's very forced. And whatever, you're allowed to be a bitch, right? You're allowed to be a bitch. You're allowed to be nasty to people. You're accomplished. You're a comedian. You did the whole thing. What you're not allowed to do is have a Guantanamo Bay situation in the backstage of your show where everybody's walking around afraid for their life. And it's like Abu Ghraib where they're hooked up to wires and they
dogs
have like
around them.
Yeah, she's got dogs and hoods. If an intern's late, they have a hood on. I don't support that. That's just me.
Yeah.
Very few people have stood up to her, but the ones who did completely shattered her entire image. Dakota Johnson, for example, revealed something important. When Ellen tried to joke about not being invited to a party, Dakota corrected her on air. It was subtle, but it showed something. Ellen was comfortable twisting the narrative, even when it wasn't accurate.
Belated birthday. When was your birthday?
It was October 4th.
October 4th. You turned 30.
I did.
And how was the party? I wasn't invited.
Actually, no, that's not the truth, Ellen. You were invited. Last time I was on the show, last year, you gave me a bunch of shit about not inviting you, but I didn't even know you wanted to be invited.
Well, who doesn't want to be invited to a party?
Well, I didn't even know you liked me.
Of course I like you. You knew I liked you. You've been on the show many times, and don't I show like?
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
But I did invite you, and you didn't come, so.
This time you invited me?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
How do you know? I don't think so.
Ask everybody. Ask Jonathan, your producer. Who said you were?
I was
he's
invited?
right there.
Why didn't I go?
I don't know.
Was it? Oh yeah, I had that thing. It was probably in Malibu. That's too far for me to go to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah. No, I think I do remember I was invited. Thank you.
That clip went viral and it cracked the image of the perfect host. After that, a tweet from Kevin T. Porter sparked a wave of stories. Hundreds of people shared their experiences and the pattern was consistent. People didn't see the kindness that was being promoted.
I was like, Ellen's not that nice.
This was after you went on the show?
After I went on the show.
What was it like meeting Ellen? And is she a good person?
Let's just all go back to 2017 where I was the first person to call Ellen out before anyone else
You called her out?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
I called her out. I was like, Ellen's not that nice.
This was after you went on the show?
After I went on the show. And the world blew up about it and was like so mad at me about it. And then someone else said it. And then it was like, oh my God, Ellen's not nice. Yeah. Oh, okay.
Why do you say she's not nice?
I can't explain it. It was just
an
really
energy?
weird. I ran into her like backstage. It was like an awkward thing. And like the producers were really scared. I was like, what's going on? They were like, that was not supposed to happen. We're going to get in trouble. It's like so weird. And she was like, hey. It was like, I was like, oh, hi. Like, I was like, I'm so excited. And she was like,
Now here's where Rogan and Dylan's point really hits. They argue that Ellen's downfall wasn't sudden, it was delayed. For over 15 years, her show was successful, influential, and protected. In entertainment, when someone is at the top, problems often get ignored. People stay quiet because their jobs are on the line, but once the momentum shifts, everything starts coming out all at once. The second takeaway, power can hide problems, but only for so long. Then came her response.
Is Ellen DeGeneres rewriting history? That's what some of her former staffers claim she's doing in her new Netflix stand-up special, For Your Approval.
I got kicked out of show business. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, because I'm mean. Yeah. Yeah, you can't be mean and be in show business. No, they'll kick you out.
She uses jokes to address the controversy.
I was in therapy for a while trying to deal with all the hatred that was coming at me. And at one point, my therapist said, Ellen, where do you get this idea that everyone hates you? And I said, well, New York Times, Washington Post, Entertainment Weekly, Us Weekly. I think Elmo may have said something recently on an episode of Sesame Street.
But this producer who worked with her takes issue with how she's addressing allegations that there was a toxic work environment at her legendary talk show.
The essence of the special really was totally a lie.
Hedda Muscat says Ellen's special hits all the wrong notes.
I felt Ellen was not taking responsibility at all. She was sugarcoating it.
The Ellen DeGeneres show went off the air after 19 seasons in May 2022, mired in controversy, including allegations of racism and sexual misconduct. Ellen addressed the allegations back in 2020.
And if I've ever let someone down, if I've ever hurt their feelings, I am so sorry for that.
In the special, Ellen describes the work environment she remembers.
It was a family to me. We had so much fun together at that show. We laughed all the time. We played games all the time.
I felt it was not a family. It was an atmosphere of fear.
Instead of fully taking responsibility for the criticism, Ellen attempted a comeback, including a new special. Critics said she presented herself as the victim, focusing on being pushed out of Hollywood rather than addressing the deeper issues. That's where the backlash intensified, because in situations like this, people aren't just looking for explanations, they're looking for accountability. They want to hear someone clearly acknowledge what went wrong and take responsibility for it. That's why comparisons started being made to people like Mel Gibson, who faced major backlash in the past but openly admitted mistakes and gradually rebuilt trust over time. Coincidentally, he was also someone who spoke out against the powerful elite in Hollywood.
I had a whole bunch of weird paranoid suspicions about what the hell was going on because there was a lot of stuff I couldn't understand.
Right.
And nobody was really bothering to explain it to me.
They don't.
And and I formed a bunch of opinions about the town and about the people in it that were like, surely that couldn't be, because a whole place can't be like, Weird Town, where the stranger wanders in and all the people are in the bar and they all shut up when he looks at them and they tell you don't go into the house on the hill, and it's like that. And then you go away and you think, no, I was wrong. I mean, that's insane thinking. I'm paranoid. I imagined that stuff. That couldn't be the reason for why so-and-so was acting like. Could it? And then you find out later on the track that you are exactly on track with a lot of this stuff. Not specifically on track, but that you could, that some of your worst nightmares were real at the time. And you think, No, he came to see me on a rooftop in New York. I said, hey, can I talk to you? And he said, sure. And he floated in sideways through a crowd of people. He was wearing black. And it was like one of those old vampire movies where they don't walk, but they glide. And he was a dancer, so he has he's very, graceful.
Yeah.
And he moved sideways and he just sat down in a chair next to me. And it kind of frightened me. And he's a very smart guy. And we started talking, and I didn't, say much of anything about reading the script, nothing. I just started talking about the Middle Ages, and he began to talk tortures. And we swapped tortures because I'd read this book on torture, and I tried to recall some of the most heinous things I'd ever read in this book, and he was like, oh, and he'd try and top it. And and my assistant was there, and he left because he couldn't stand it anymore.
Yeah.
The air had turned cold. And then he left, and I wanted to leave. And because I knew that
Whether people agreed with him or not, the approach was different. Now, Ellen mistreating her employees was already serious, but soon more people began speaking about her alleged connections to Epstein. Online rumors claimed that Ellen was involved in disturbing activities and linking others to Epstein. This was something that online sleuths said they found multiple connections to, especially pointing to Ellen's symbolic use of pizza throughout her career. According to these claims, Epstein used coded language when referring to victims. Phrases like pizza, grape soda, and beef jerky
Pizza appears in the Epstein files 909 times. Let's take a look together. I've been spending a lot of time looking at the new documents released from the DOJ regarding Jeffrey Epstein, and I ran a search this morning for the word pizza, just out of curiosity. Well, that came up with 909 results, some of which are going to be displayed behind me in this video. I've also put in some screenshots of who is who that showed up in these emails. Now, you can go and search the DOJ files yourself to read these in full. I am sure that some of these emails were just people innocently planning to eat pizza together. but I do have to question some of them, especially when they are having someone who has a redacted name set up a time to have her butt molded so that they can create a pizza mold where they will bake pizzas in the shape of her butt. You can see them here at some point, but you can also, again, search the DOJ files yourself. Don't take my word for it, anyone else's. And just for fun, I ran searches of other foods, and the ones that I searched didn't get mentioned 909 times or anything close to it. Now, the word banana was mentioned over 300 times, but a lot of those were like ad emails that were coming to Jeffrey from Banana Republic, so nothing really to dive into there. But the pizza stuff, I really encourage you to read the things behind me, take a look at the people who were saying these things, and just tell me what you think. Do you think these 909 mentions of pizza were totally...
Reports and online discussions suggest there may be deeper connections than people once believed, pointing to leaked voice notes, emails, and testimonies that have recently resurfaced. In one recorded interview, a victim later identified as Virginia described how difficult it was to talk about what happened. Her voice sounded strained, like someone trying to explain something overwhelming while being questioned by authorities. She suggested that Epstein wasn't acting alone and that others were involved behind the scenes.
She's worse than Epstein. She did things even worse than Epstein did. She was vicious, she was evil, and she was a woman.
Her lawyers have said Ghislaine Maxwell is not a Jeffrey Epstein, that she has been a victim of media spin.
They're doing their job, but I know that woman. I've known her really well. Put it this way. Epstein was Pinocchio and she was Geppetto. She was the guy controlling
the strings.
Jeffrey. Yep, she was pulling the strings. She had his money. He had her contacts. But Ghislaine was much more conniving and smart than Epstein ever was.
Virginia Roberts Giuffre says she first met Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell when she was just 16. And alleges that she was forced to have sex with Britain's Prince Andrew on 3 separate occasions. She was 17 at the time. He has denied that and says it's possible this picture with his arm around her waist was doctored.
Is there any way you could have had sex with that young woman or any young woman trafficked by Jeffrey Epstein in any of his residences?
No.
Prince Andrew should be panicking. He knows he's guilty. He needs to be held accountable. We need to show the world that the rich and the mighty can fall too.
Do you think that Ghislaine's life is in danger?
Absolutely. If she squeals on some of the people that she has videos on, they won't be happy with her talking about that.
And when you say that she has videos or she has knowledge of videos that exist about people like who? People well-known names?
Very well-known names, the government officials, the politicians, the royalty, they were taping everybody every moment when you walked into the New York mansion, to Palm Beach, everything was being filmed.
Do you think people knew they were being taped?
No.
No.
I do not. Not at all.
Giuffre alleges Maxwell and Epstein were blackmailing the wealthy and the powerful.
Back in the early 2000s, Virginia said she was taken to Epstein's Island by Ghislaine Maxwell and forced into situations involving powerful individuals. Over time, she became one of the most vocal figures connected to the case, even presenting photos and naming high-profile figures, including Prince Andrew.
To be repeatedly abused by Epstein, by Maxwell, by a number of people in their circles. She's named some of them before. She's named Prince Andrew before, for sure. She details multiple allegations here of his assaults against her, and he has since been stripped of his royal title since the book came out and these details were revealed. I have to wonder, has there ever been any legal accountability, any attempt at legal accountability with the people that she's named before and now in this book?
Well, this is why everybody's clamoring for the Epstein files, what we are now calling the Epstein files. I don't think anyone exactly knows how voluminous they are. They may be 12 file cabinets. They may have videotapes in them. We're not totally sure. But I know what Virginia told the FBI, and she did it repeatedly. The allegations were made. She's been deposed several times, and those depositions are public. And there are many, many men named in those public depositions. Not all of them are in the book, but the names are out there. And basically what's happened so far is those men have had their publicists issue statements saying, we deny it. And that's as far as it's gone.
Virginia documents in the book the details that Epstein saved, right? Photos, videotapes, presumably lists and other documentation somewhere else. Is it fair to assume all of this is in the hands of the authorities? And in saying release the Epstein files, what do you think would be learned from that?
Well, I think there should be a trove of information. We also know from Virginia's account that there were video cameras in that Manhattan townhouse in all of the private spaces, I believe even in the bathrooms. So those videotapes would theoretically not just let you know the horrors that went on in the house, but they might even identify some of
Her claims described a much larger network, one that extended across the United States, the United Kingdom, and the Virgin Islands, involving not just elites, but also individuals working behind the scenes like drivers, stylists, and medical professionals. As more details surfaced, questions began to grow. Despite years of allegations, many people felt that justice had not fully reached everyone involved. Virginia herself said she faced threats after speaking out publicly, especially when she announced plans to write a book revealing everything she had witnessed. Then things took a darker turn. She reported being targeted and even posted a message online saying that if anything happened to her, it shouldn't be ignored. Not long after, news broke that she had passed away.
This social media post made in March this year that first alerted the world Virginia was in trouble.
Epstein and Prince Andrew's accusers, Virginia Giuffre, is tonight in a Perth hospital.
She is fighting for her life after a bus crash, and a serious crash which has left her with just days to live.
She had been a passenger in a car hit by a school bus, a crash she alarmingly claimed left her so injured she only had 4 days left to live. It was a private post Virginia accidentally made public, but instead of sympathy, the general response was immediate scepticism and derision. Doubt, Virginia's brother, Danny Wilson, says was unfair and unfounded. It was an alarming post to read that Virginia had been told that she had 4 days to live.
So I spoke with the doctors, and they told me she was in very serious shape, and she had 0 kidney function. What the doctor had told her was, like, untreated in your condition with 0 kidney function, if you do not get treatment, you got about 4 days before your body.
Reports stated that she had taken her own life, although the timing and her earlier warnings led to even more speculation online.
Virginia Giuffre's dad and attorney are reportedly questioning how she died. Giuffre was a vocal and visible accuser of Jeffrey Epstein and Prince Andrew. She was found dead on her farm outside Perth, Australia over the weekend, less than a month after she made headlines again after posting a picture of herself in a hospital bed saying she had just days to live. Australian police told media outlets that no one was reported injured in the crash, and the car involved sustained roughly $2,000 in damage, and the bus driver had reported the incident the next day. The aftermath of that story brought to light a court battle that she was having with her estranged husband, Robert Giuffre. According to People, Robert hit Virginia with a restraining order in February that prevented her from seeing their 3 teenage children. Robert also accused Virginia of violating that order. Virginia accused her estranged husband of physical abuse. Sky News in the UK says the couple separated in 2023. Robert's attorney had no comment for People, who exclusively spoke with members of Giuffre's family. Prince Andrew has yet to make a comment about the death of Virginia Giuffre. But he has had someone in his corner who has repeatedly attacked Virginia on social media. Her name is Victoria Hervey. She's a model, a socialite, and a former girlfriend of Prince Andrew. Now, when you look at her Instagram, you can see she has a playlist of story posts that attack Giuffre since that bus crash in March. One of the posts read, quote, "The pain caused by her lies, destroying lives and tearing families apart, all for money, is no small thing. She has a lot to answer for. I call this divine judgment by God. People often say karma has a way of catching up." And, quote, "As Ghislaine Maxwell put it, Virginia is a fantasist." Remember, Maxwell serving 20 years in prison. She is now a convicted sex offender. But even in death, Hervey continues to post about Virginia Giuffre.
Her unfinished book, later partially released, contained disturbing descriptions of her experiences, though many names were never publicly revealed. At the same time, attention shifted back to Epstein's connections within the entertainment world. Documents and emails suggested he had access to young women through modeling agencies and industry contacts. This is where some online discussions began linking figures like Ellen to those broader claims, though these allegations remain part of ongoing debate rather than confirmed findings. Around this time, people also noticed changes in Ellen's life. After years in the spotlight, her show ended following workplace-related allegations about its environment. Not long after, she stepped away from public life and reportedly moved abroad with her wife, Portia de Rossi. Timing led to speculation online, especially as more Epstein-related documents were expected to be released. Another name that came up in these discussions was Stephen Twitch Boss, Ellen's longtime collaborator.
We're learning more about the shocking death of DJ Twitch, a popular personality from Ellen DeGeneres' show. DJ Twitch was found at this Los Angeles motel with a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. A maid reportedly discovered the body in the bathroom after she went into the room after checkout time in order to clean up. In light of all of the attention, the motel is shutting down until next week. This maid says she cleaned the room after his body was removed.
We cleaned the room, but it was really upsetting. I prayed for his family.
The father of three reportedly left his home in Encino, California on Monday and walked to the motel about a mile away. His wife, fellow dancer Allison Holker, reportedly became concerned when she didn't hear from him by Tuesday. She went to this police precinct seeking help. About the same time, a shooting was reported at this motel. They were a happy couple who just celebrated their 9th wedding anniversary on December 10th. His wife posted this touching tribute video, writing, "I feel so blessed and loved." Just the day before his death, they posted video doing what they loved, dancing. Twitch, whose real name is Stephen Boss, was also named executive producer on Ellen's show in 2020, following allegations that the talk show host sometimes mistreated her staff.
It gave me a place where I can just be myself. I love you so much.
We love you so much.
And this just surfaced video is now taking on special meaning. It was recorded on the last day of Ellen's show. It shows Twitch listening as another executive producer, Andy Lassner, speaks to the forlorn staff.
It's okay to be sad and to reach out to each other.
He's always a part of my life, and
Today, Ellen posted some of her favorite moments with Twitch. Right now, what I want to do is remember all the love and laughter I had with Twitch. It includes him getting a body wax and his mom sitting in the audience. Twitch's mother was seen arriving at his home yesterday along with his mother-in-law. His untimely death is generating an avalanche of condolences.
His sudden death shocked fans, and while official reports pointed to personal struggles, some online theories tried to connect his passing to larger controversies. These claims, however, remain unverified. As more victims began to speak out, a pattern started to appear in their stories. Many described being young, vulnerable, and drawn in with promises of opportunity. One victim, later identified publicly after years of anonymity, said she was only 14 when she first met Epstein. She explained how repeated visits eventually led to abuse, and how the cycle continued until she was considered too old and no longer wanted. Others shared even more desperate moments, including attempts to escape. One testimony described a girl trying to swim away from the island, willing to risk her life just to get out.
Infamous offender Jeffrey Epstein used the secluded island to both wine and dine the rich and build a trap where women and children as young as 12 described sexual abuse and trafficking.
The girls and young women who went on the island were basic prisoners. You couldn't leave.
A CNN review of thousands of videos, photos, and emails in the DOJ files, written testimony from victims, and satellite imagery paint the clearest picture yet of how Epstein transformed this island into an elaborate crime scene. The files show the signs of abuse captured on camera.
It was just for Jeffrey's amusement.
Powerful guests publicly and repeatedly say they didn't see this abuse, but it was so obvious and bold, according to one victim, that anyone spending significant time at any of Epstein's residences would have clearly been aware of what was going on. To do what he planned, Epstein used the island's seclusion.
This is my swimming pool. No one's allowed to dock here. My beach.
Helicopter or boat were the only way visitors could get to the island he purchased for about $8 million in 1998. In 2002, satellite images show the island, Little St. James, was barely developed. Just one main house here and a few small buildings on the northern tip of the roughly 70-acre island. Over the next 2 decades, you can see Epstein's building spree as he transformed it into a luxurious vacation escape, expanding the main home to the north. He built a larger pool, new cabanas, upgraded rooms, a dental office for some unknown reason, and this unusual-looking building, referred to in the files as a temple. He also bought a $300,000 antique desk and statues worth about $100,000. As Epstein developed his getaway, he wrote repeatedly in emails to business and government leaders, "Come visit me on my island."
Ghislaine Maxwell's lawyer, David Oscar Marcus, suggested in an interview that U.S. President Donald Trump could potentially grant clemency to Ghislaine Maxwell. He stopped short of giving any certainty, saying he didn't know the odds, but added that there was a real possibility a pardon could happen and argued there were reasons why it might be considered.
Consider a pardon or a commutation for Ghislaine Maxwell if she cooperated?
It's something I haven't thought about. It's really something.
Recommended it.
It's something I'm allowed to do it, but it's something I have not thought about.
As the president spoke, Maxwell was meeting for the second day in a row with Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, who until recently was Trump's personal lawyer. Trump once socialized with Maxwell and Epstein. When Epstein was arrested in 2019, Trump said they'd had a falling out and hadn't spoken in 15 years. Maxwell has long faced questions.
Ask you about all the allegations that have come out, Ghislaine. Happy New Year.
When she was arrested, the president said he wished her well. Sources tell ABC News it was Maxwell who requested this week's meetings with the Deputy Attorney General and that she was granted a limited form of immunity so she could answer questions without fear it could later be used.
Marcus, known for representing controversial and high-profile clients throughout his career, framed Maxwell in a very particular way. He described her as a scapegoat, claiming she would never have been prosecuted if Jeffrey Epstein had not died in custody. Maxwell, however, is currently serving a 20-year sentence for her role in the sexual exploitation of minors. At the same time, Marcus indicated that Maxwell might be willing to testify before Congress about the broader Epstein network if legal protections were offered. He suggested she would consider cooperating if granted clemency, especially after previously invoking her Fifth Amendment rights. Around the same time, Melania Trump made a public statement directly addressing her name being linked in discussions involving Epstein and Maxwell. Speaking at a podium in the White House, she denied any personal connection with Epstein or Maxwell, clearly stating that she never had a relationship with either of them.
I remember last week, Melania did an impromptu press conference, right? Where she said the lies must stop, right? So she was married to this man or in a relationship with this man for 2 decades named Paolo Zampalli. This guy is cankles deep in the MAGA world. They have a 16-year-old son together. The evidence that I have found goes as follows. Amanda Ungaro came to the United States 30 years ago on the Lolita Express with 30 other models. And she ends up in a relationship with this guy. And let me show you how embedded this man is in MAGA. Here he is with Lil Smokey. Here he is with Peter Thiel. Here he is with Little Marco. And here he is with Pam Bondi, who now MAGA has discarded. Here's what's really should normally be president-ending scandals. And this just gets buried under all the crap that this man does. So Pumps, this Zampalli, that guy who's doing all those Instagram posts with all of those wackos, he's in a custody battle with this really close friend of Melania's, Amanda Ungaro. And he doesn't want to lose his custody battle, so he calls his friends in the Trump regime and has her detained by ICE. And she says it was a hall with more than 120 people. The floor was wet. There were no windows, 4 days without seeing the sun. I came out infested with lice. So this woman who hung out with Donald Trump and Melania Trump for decades because she's getting a divorce, he just calls Trump and says, hey, I need for you to get her divorce.
Adding another layer of confusion, reports surfaced about inconsistent messaging from within the administration. Some sources suggested the president wasn't aware that the First Lady would be making such a statement beforehand, while other communications implied he may have known. The uncertainty over what was planned versus what was spontaneous only intensified media attention. Does this mean there's tension building in the White House? Could this Ellen connection reach the very top? Let us know in the comments below.